What if everything you thought you knew about America was only half the story? The land of dreams, the home of Hollywood, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and the world's most powerful military. The United States projects wealth, freedom, and innovation. But beneath that shining image lies a darker, stranger, and sometimes unbelievable truth. This isn't the America you see in the movies. There's a town where dying is actually illegal, a desert where tourists once gathered to watch nuclear bombs explode, a student loan system that traps young people in lifelong debt, and a generation of Americans that stopped having sex altogether, from hidden ghost towns and food waste that could feed entire nations, to shocking gaps in healthcare, housing, and human connection. These are the real stories that don't make the headlines. Some of them will fascinate you, others will disturb you. But number 6 will leave you stunned. Even lifelong Americans don't know it. Welcome to 18 shocking facts you'll never believe about the United States. Let's count them down. Number 18. The town where you're not allowed to die. Imagine living in a place so remote, so cold, and so extreme that dying there is actually illegal. Welcome to Longyearbyen, a small Arctic town on the Svalbard archipelago of Norway. Wait, but the American version of this strange phenomenon? It's in Barrow, Alaska, now known as Utqiagvik. Here's why. The ground is frozen solid, part of what's called permafrost. Bodies buried here don't decompose. They just sit, preserved in ice. When a flu epidemic hit in the 20th century, scientists discovered that even decades later, the viruses inside the corpses were still alive. So local officials took action. In Barrow, dying is discouraged, and technically banned. If you're terminally ill, you'll be flown elsewhere to pass away. There hasn't been a legal burial here in over 70 years. It sounds like science fiction, but it's real law, shaped by nature's cold grip, and the eerie resilience of disease. But just wait. If you think death was surreal, the next story literally exploded in front of people's eyes. Number 17, a desert where tourists watched nukes explode. It sounds like a dystopian fever dream. But in 1950s America, watching nuclear bombs explode was just another way to spend a weekend in Vegas. Roughly 65 miles northwest of Las Vegas, the Nevada test site became ground zero for America's Cold War atomic testing program. Between 1951 and 1992, over 900 nuclear detonations took place here, many above ground, and many fully visible from Las Vegas hotels. Instead of hiding it, the government turned it into a spectacle. Casinos offered atomic cocktails at rooftop bars. Hotel guests set alarm clocks to wake up before dawn, not for sunrise, but to watch a mushroom cloud rise from the desert horizon. Photographers snapped fashion models posing with nukes in the background. News anchors reported detonation times like they were fireworks schedules. People clapped, they cheered. They had no idea what the radiation would do. This was the atomic age, when danger and entertainment collided, in a surreal American dream. But if you think that's shocking, wait until you meet the ghost town that's been on fire for 60 years. Number 16, a billion-dollar ghost town. Imagine living in a town where the ground literally burns beneath your feet, for decades. That's not a horror movie, that's Centralia, Pennsylvania. In 1962, a fire started in an abandoned coal mine beneath the town. No one thought much of it at first, but that fire never went out. It spread underground, igniting coal veins that ran for miles. And it's still burning today. Sidewalks cracked open, smoke billowed from the earth. Carbon monoxide poisoned the air. In 1981, a 12-year-old boy fell into a steaming sinkhole that suddenly opened in his backyard. He survived, but it was the wake-up call. By the late 80s, the government stepped in. They declared the town unsafe, offered buyouts, and spent over $42 million relocating residents. Today, only a handful of people remain. The zip code has been erased. Centralia is now a billion-dollar ghost town, slowly vanishing into fire and smoke. And the fire, experts say it could keep burning for another 250 years. But what if I told you there's a place in America where the number of guns actually outnumbers the people? By a lot? Number 15, the town with more guns than people. In most countries, guns are tools, rare, regulated, and restricted. But in America, they're a way of life. And in Wyoming, they're more common than people. This rugged, mountainous state has the highest gun ownership rate in the country, over 120 firearms per 100 residents. That's more guns than humans, and it's not even close. Here, it's not unusual for households to own 5, 10, even 20 guns. Hunting is tradition. Shooting ranges are social hubs. Even children learn to shoot before they can drive. And yet, it's not just about rural culture. In Wyoming and other high-ownership states, gun laws are some of the loosest in the country. No permit to carry, no registration required. In many areas, you can walk into a store and leave with an AR-15 the same day. Supporters call it freedom, critics call it chaos. But one thing is clear. The US has over 400 million civilian-owned firearms, more than the next 25 countries combined. And if you think that's intense, wait until you learn that America still executes people by firing squad. Number 14. Executions still happen by firing squad. In the 21st century, you'd expect firing squads to be a brutal relic of history, like public hangings or medieval torture. But in the United States, they're still legal and still used. Several states, including Utah, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Oklahoma, have laws on the books allowing execution by firing squad. And yes, it still happens. In 2010, Ronnie Lee Gardner was executed by firing squad in Utah. In 2023, South Carolina prepared to reintroduce it, citing shortages of lethal injection drugs. Why firing squad? Ironically, some argue it's more humane. Lethal injections can fail, causing long, agonizing deaths. But 5 trained officers with rifles? Instant, precise, guaranteed. Still, the image is haunting. A man strapped to a chair, a hood pulled over his head, 5 rifles pointed at his heart. Only 4 are loaded, so no one knows who fired the fatal shot. It's not fiction, it's American law. And in a country that leads the developed world in executions, this isn't a forgotten past, it's a chilling present. But if that left you speechless, wait until you hear what's really happening with America's love life. Number 13, America's sex recession is real. In the land of Hollywood, hookup culture, and dating apps, you'd expect young Americans to be drowning in romance. But the reality? They're in a sex recession. A shocking number of young Americans, especially under 30, are having less sex than any generation before them. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, nearly 1 in 3 men aged 18 to 24 reported 0 sexual activity in the past year. And women aren't far behind. This isn't just about sex, it's about connection, loneliness, anxiety, digital addiction, economic instability, and dating fatigue are all part of the mix. People are swiping more, but connecting less. Even more surprising, marriage rates are plummeting, birth rates are at record lows, and young people say relationships feel too risky, too expensive, or just not worth the effort. In a country obsessed with freedom, love, and self-expression, intimacy is quietly fading. This is the paradox of modern America, more connected than ever, and yet more alone. And speaking of things going to waste, the next fact reveals a national habit that could feed entire countries, if it weren't thrown in the trash. Number 12. Food waste so massive it could feed nations. Imagine an entire truckload of perfectly edible food, milk, meat, fruit, bread, being dumped into a landfill every single second. Now imagine that repeating every second of every day, all year long. That's not fiction, that's America. According to the USDA, the United States wastes over 40% of its food supply every year. That's over 130 billion pounds of food, valued at more than $160 billion, tossed out, while millions of Americans go hungry. Supermarkets throw away unsold produce that's still good. Restaurants overserve and trash the leftovers. Homes toss out food because of confusing Best Buy labels or a slight bruise. Meanwhile, 1 in 8 Americans struggles with food insecurity. If food waste were a country, it would be the 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases, after the US and China. It's a moral crisis, it's an environmental disaster, and it's happening quietly, behind closed supermarket doors and suburban kitchen bins. But what happens if you get seriously sick in America? The answer is even more disturbing, and it might just bankrupt you. Number 11. The price of getting sick? Your future. In America, a broken arm can cost you $10,000. An ambulance ride? $2,000 just to get to the hospital. And heaven forbid you need insulin, chemotherapy, or long-term care. The US spends more on healthcare per person than any country on earth, over $12,000 per year, per person. Yet shockingly, Americans don't live longer. In fact, The average life expectancy in the US is lower than in countries like South Korea, Portugal, or even Cuba. It gets worse. Medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America. People skip doctor visits. They ration medication. Some launch GoFundMe pages just to survive. And uninsured Americans? One serious illness can mean financial ruin, or worse. This is the cost of getting sick in the world's wealthiest nation. Not just your health, but your future. And if you think that sounds bad, wait until you see how much Americans are paying for a college degree. Number 10. Trillions in student debt for a diploma. In the US, higher education is often sold as the key to the American dream. But for millions of students, that dream comes with a lifelong price tag. Right now, over 45 million Americans owe a collective $1.7 trillion in student loans. That's more than the GDP of Australia, and more than Americans owe on credit cards or cars. The average borrower owes around $37,000. Many owe far more, without ever earning a degree. For some, it's a burden that follows them into middle age, marriage, parenthood, even retirement. And here's the kicker. Student debt can't be erased by bankruptcy. You're stuck with it, even if you lose your job, your health, or your hope. It's a system where education costs more than a house, and graduates start life already underwater. The diploma might be framed on the wall, but the debt? It never leaves your side. And if you think debt is bad, imagine losing your freedom entirely. Because the next fact is about mass incarceration on a scale the world has never seen. Number 9. The nation that imprisons more than any other. Picture this. More people are behind bars in the United States than in China or Russia, despite having a much smaller population. Right now, over 2.3 million Americans are locked up. That's nearly 1 in every 140 adults. And when you zoom out globally, no other country comes close. The US has the highest incarceration rate in the world, over 600 prisoners per 100,000 people. And it's not just violent criminals. The prison system is packed with people jailed for non-violent offenses, drug possession, or simply because they couldn't afford bail. Even more shocking, Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. In some states, more than half of young black men are in jail, on parole, or on probation. The prison system has become a multi-billion-dollar industry, where private companies profit from punishment. Land of the free? Not if you're poor or black, or caught in the wrong system at the wrong time. But what if you didn't even have a home to go to in the first place? Because next, we head to America's streets, where nearly 600,000 people sleep without shelter. Number 8. A nation rich enough to let people sleep on streets. Every night in America, while Wall Street trades billions, and billionaires fly private, over 580,000 people sleep on sidewalks, in cars, or under overpasses. That's 500,000 human beings, veterans, families, young people, without a roof, in the world's richest nation. Walk through Los Angeles' Skid Row or New York subway stations, and you'll see tents, makeshift shelters, and cardboard beds. Some are mentally ill, some just lost their jobs. Many are working, yes, employed, but still can't afford rent. In cities where a one-bedroom apartment can cost $3,000 a month, homelessness isn't just a crisis. It's a reflection of priorities. America spends hundreds of billions on defense, tax cuts, and surveillance, but can't guarantee housing for its most vulnerable. It's not a shortage of money, it's a shortage of will. And while some Americans are struggling just to survive, others once faked entire armies, not for war, but to outwit Hitler. What? Wait for this. Number 7, the ghost army that fooled Hitler. It sounds like a Hollywood script, but it's all true. During World War II, the US military created a secret unit of artists, sound engineers, and illusionists. Their mission? To trick the Nazis, using nothing but inflatable tanks, fake radio chatter, and recorded battle sounds. They were called the Ghost Army, and they operated in total secrecy. This 100-man unit staged over 20 elaborate deceptions across Europe, making Hitler's forces believe they were facing divisions 10 times larger. Imagine driving past a field filled with tanks, only to realize they're made of rubber, or hearing troop movements over loudspeakers, while the real army slipped away unnoticed. They even forged fake tire tracks, phony uniform, and scripted conversations. It was psychological warfare at its finest, and it saved tens of thousands of lives. Yet for decades their story remained classified. America's most artistic soldiers fought not with bullets, but with imagination and sound. But back on American soil, another invisible enemy is growing: debt. And this time it's not personal, it's national. Number 6. The national debt is now bigger than the economy. Imagine this: if every American, man, woman, and child, wrote a check for $100,000, it still wouldn't cover the national debt. As of 2025, the United States owes more than $33 trillion. That's more than the entire US economy produces in a year. It's an invisible weight, growing every second, yet felt in every corner of American life. Higher interest rates, squeezed social programs, crumbling infrastructure, and constant political gridlock. And where does the money go? Military spending, tax breaks, pandemic aid, bailouts, wars. Year after year the bills pile up, but the payments? Delayed. China, Japan, and even average American investors now own pieces of this giant IOU. It's the elephant in every political room, and one day the debt bomb may detonate, because you can't borrow forever, even if you're the most powerful country on earth. But while the government is drowning in red ink, Americans face another crisis, one that shows up in the mirror and on the battlefield. Number 5. Land of the obese. In the land of fast food, drive-thrus, and giant portion sizes, over 40% of American adults are obese. Not overweight, obese. That's more than 100 million people, a figure unmatched by any other developed nation. The consequences go far beyond personal health: heart disease, diabetes, skyrocketing healthcare costs. But here's the part no one talks about: national security. According to the US military, over 70% of young Americans are unfit for service, and obesity is the #1 reason. That means the military struggles to recruit, and if a major war broke out today, millions wouldn't even qualify to fight. How did it get this bad? Ultra-processed foods dominate supermarket shelves, healthy options cost more, and physical education is disappearing from schools. In a nation that once prized rugged individualism and athleticism, the scales have literally tipped. But what if the country's most shocking wonders weren't man-made at all? Coming up, natural beauty so bizarre you'll think it's from another planet. Number 4. Natural wonders you've never heard of. Forget the Grand Canyon and Yosemite. America hides some of the strangest natural wonders on Earth, and most people have never heard of them. Imagine a lake that boils like a kettle, even in winter. That's Boiling Lake in Nevada, heated by underground geothermal vents, or the sailing stones of Death Valley, where giant rocks mysteriously move across the desert floor, leaving long trails behind. But no footprints, no motors, no magic, just nature, bending the rules. And then there's Fly Geyser, a neon-colored alien landscape in the middle of the Nevada desert, born from a drilling accident that created a rainbow-spewing, otherworldly formation. In Kentucky, a cave system, Mammoth Cave, stretches over 400 miles underground. It's the longest-known cave network in the world, so massive we still haven't fully explored it. These places exist far from the tourist brochures. They're strange, eerie, beautiful, and they prove one thing: you don't have to leave the US to visit another world. But now let's go somewhere less magical, a place where the internet dies, even in the shadow of Silicon Valley. Number 3. Silicon Valley, the richest tech hub with the poorest internet access. You'd think that in the land of Google, Apple, and Facebook, fast internet would be a basic right. But here's the irony. Over 20 million Americans still lack access to high-speed internet, and some of them live just miles from Silicon Valley. In a country that invented the modern internet, millions are stuck with dial-up speeds, or no service at all. In rural towns across Mississippi, West Virginia, and even parts of California, kids drive to McDonald's parking lots just to finish their homework. Farmers can't access real-time weather data. Small businesses can't run digital stores. Even telehealth isn't an option. And what's worse, some broadband companies have deliberately avoided expanding to poor or remote areas, calling them unprofitable. In the most tech-advanced nation on Earth, this is the digital divide no one talks about. While tech giants race toward the metaverse, millions are still buffering. Number 2. The Billionaire Paradox. America is home to more billionaires than any other country on Earth, over 800 of them. From Jeff Bezos to Elon Musk, their combined wealth is measured in the trillions. But step outside their glass towers and you'll see the paradox. Millions of Americans can't even afford rent. In cities like San Francisco and New York, a one-bedroom apartment can cost over $3,000 a month. Even people with full-time jobs, teachers, nurses, delivery drivers, are living out of cars, motels, or tent encampments. Wages have stagnated, but housing costs have soared. In some cases, landlords raise rent faster than inflation, faster than income, faster than people can keep up, all while luxury penthouses sit empty, and billionaire wealth increases by billions in a single day. This isn't just a housing crisis. It's a mirror reflecting the vast, growing gap between the ultra-rich and everyone else. So in the land of democracy, do people still believe their voices matter? Let's end with a truth that might shake your faith in the system. Number 1. Voter turnout in the land of democracy. America calls itself the world's greatest democracy. Yet when it comes time to vote, many Americans simply don't. In the last presidential elections, only about 60 to 65% of eligible voters showed up. That means tens of millions stayed home, more people than the entire population of Canada. Compare that to countries like Belgium or Sweden, where turnout often exceeds 80%, even though voting in America is voluntary, free, and a fundamental right. Why don't Americans vote? Some feel their vote doesn't matter. Others are blocked by strict voter ID laws, long lines, limited polling places, or the overwhelming complexity of the system. And while political ads flood every screen, many young voters feel disconnected, more cynical than inspired. It's a sobering twist. In a nation that champions freedom around the world, millions choose silence on the day it counts most. What if everything you thought you knew about America was only part of the story? We've seen a nation of billionaires and beggars, of stunning natural wonders, and shocking human contradictions. A country that sends rockets to Mars, but lets families live in tents. A superpower with unmatched wealth, and some of the most broken systems in the developed world. But here's the twist. Every fact you've just heard is real, and together, they paint a portrait far more complex than any slogan or Hollywood movie can show. Because the truth about America isn't just red, white, and blue. It's also gray and raw and messy. But maybe that's what makes it worth understanding. So, which fact shocked you the most? Or did we miss something even more unbelievable? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more jaw-dropping truths from around the world, subscribe now. We've only just begun to uncover what lies beneath the surface.